I always thought I had a good grip on life. Or at least on the people I chose to love. You know how you build this quiet confidence inside yourself? This belief that the person standing beside you would never be the one to push you off the edge. That was me. I believed in her the way a man believes in morning light, something that arrives gently, consistently, without warning of storms. But the day she slapped me, everything I believed shattered so fast, I didn't even feel the crack forming. The strange part, my cheek didn't sting, not even for a second. What hit me wasn't her hand, it was the truth that followed. A truth so sharp it sliced through every memory I had of us, every hope I held, every version of myself I had built around her. And before I take you deeper into what happened, before I tell you how a single moment turned into a chain reaction of betrayal, consequences, and karma, so poetic it felt scripted by fate, I want you to do one thing. Hit the like button, share this story, and subscribe, because what I'm about to tell you, it's not just a story, it's a warning. A reminder that sometimes the gentlest people carry the harshest secrets. My name is Arundel Marvick, and I'm not a perfect man. But I loved her with the kind of honesty that leaves no room for betrayal. I trusted her the way you trust your own heartbeat. I never imagined she'd be the one to stop it. I didn't know that the slap was only the beginning. The real pain was waiting behind it. I met Lunara Crest at a time when my life felt steady but colorless routine days. Predictable nights, nothing dramatic enough to change me. She walked in like an unexpected summer breeze. Soft voice, calm smile. A little mysterious, but warm in a way that pulled me in without effort. She wasn't loud, she wasn't overly charming, she wasn't trying to impress anyone. And maybe that's what made her unforgettable. There was this gentleness in the way she listened, like she was collecting pieces of me I didn't even know were falling. The kind of woman who remembered small details, laughed softly at jokes no one else noticed, and looked at you like she saw the version of you that you wished existed. She made me feel seen, important, wanted. I didn't know then how dangerous it is to hand someone that kind of power. And if I tell you the truth, I never thought she'd be the reason my life would split into a before and an after. The first red flag didn't arrive with drama. It came quietly, soft enough for me to pretend it wasn't there. It was the way Lunara started pausing before answering simple questions. Where were you? Used to bring playful explanations or long stories about her day, but slowly her answers turned shorter, clipped, like someone guarding a door behind their words. I noticed the shift. Of course I did. But I told myself people change. Maybe she was stressed. Maybe she needed space. Maybe I was overthinking. It's strange how love makes you negotiate with reality even when the truth is knocking with both hands. Then came the phone habits. She used to leave her phone anywhere on the couch, kitchen counter, sometimes even in the bathroom. She was never the kind of person who lived behind a screen. But suddenly, that phone became glued to her palm. Face down, locked, protected like it carried the last secret on earth, she began stepping outside to take calls. Speaking in a low voice, acting as if the wind might carry her words back to me. When I walked in unexpectedly, she'd quickly end the call or switch tabs on her screen with the reflex of someone hiding a crime. But every time I asked her about it, she'd smile. This strange, tired smile. And say, you know, I'd never lie to you. And like a fool, I believed her. Not because she was convincing, but because I was too afraid to imagine the alternative. There were nights she came home hours late, wearing excuses that didn't fit the way she thought they did. And instead of confronting her, I convinced myself that trust meant letting her breathe. I didn't realize she wasn't breathing. She was drifting, and I was letting her go without even knowing it. There's a moment in every broken story where you can feel something slipping, even before you understand what it is. For me, it started with silence. Not the peaceful kind, the heavy kind. The kind that crawls into the spaces where love used to breathe. Lunara wasn't cruel. She didn't shout, didn't argue, didn't accuse. She just drifted, like someone slowly stepping out of a room without saying goodbye. Conversations that once lasted hours turned into single-word replies. The warmth in her voice cooled, bit by bit, until even her "I'm home" sounded like a stranger checking in. Little things changed first. She stopped asking how my day was. She stopped waiting for me to join her for dinner. She stopped laughing at the things that used to make her smile without effort. It felt like I was living beside a ghost wearing her face. But the comparisons, those were new. Out of nowhere, she'd sigh and say things like, "Some people take risks, or you're too comfortable. Arundel, or don't you ever wonder if life is passing you by?" It wasn't what she said, it was the way she said it. Almost like she had found someone who made her feel differently. And my presence reminded her of the life she wanted to escape. I felt myself shrinking in my own relationship. Every word I spoke felt measured, judged, weighed against something I couldn't see. And still, I tried. Still, I convinced myself she was going through a phase, that love could survive this strange emptiness. But love can't survive in a place where you're treated like background noise. And every day she pushed a little further away while I held on, not knowing I was holding on to someone who had already let go. The truth didn't explode into my life with flames. It slipped in quietly like a whisper I wasn't supposed to hear. I remember the night clearly. I was sitting alone, scrolling through my messages, trying to shake off the uneasiness that had been building inside me for weeks. Then a notification appeared. From an unknown number. It wasn't a long message. No threats. No dramatic introduction. Just a single line, "You deserve to know." And beneath it a video file. My heart dropped in a way I can't explain. It wasn't fear. It was recognition. The kind you feel deep in your bones before your mind catches up. I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the play button, praying that whatever this was, it wasn't what I thought. I pressed it. The video was quick, shaky, like it was recorded secretly. A dim room, a man's voice, too familiar to be a stranger. And then, Lunara, her laugh. That soft, warm laugh I used to think belonged only to our moments. Except now, it was wrapped around someone else's presence. She looked happy, carefree in a way she hadn't been with me for months. My chest tightened so hard I couldn't breathe. My pulse felt loud enough to drown out the sound in the video. I paused it halfway, unable to watch more, but unable to look away from the frozen frame of her leaning close to him. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, staring at the truth I never wanted to see. For the first time, everything made sense: the distance, the secrecy, the cold smiles, the late-night calls. It wasn't me she was growing away from. It was him she was moving toward. And that single video shattered every version of our love I had ever believed in. I didn't confront Lunara right away. I waited until the storm inside me settled enough that my voice wouldn't break when I spoke. The next evening, when she walked through the door with that distant, distracted expression she'd perfected, I knew it was time. "Lunara," I said quietly, "we need to talk." She froze, like someone surprised, but like someone caught. Her eyes flickered for a second, and in that one moment, I saw something I'd never seen before: fear. Real, sharp fear. I held up my phone. "Someone sent me a video." Her throat tightened. She whispered, "Arundel." "I just want the truth," I said. My voice wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. It was steady, too steady. And I think that scared her more than shouting ever could have. She took a step toward me, then stopped. Panic pulsed through her words. "Who sent it? What did you see? Tell me what you think you know." I didn't answer. I didn't accuse. I just looked at her, the woman I had loved more deeply than I ever admitted out loud, and said, "If there's something you need to tell me now." And that's when it happened. She slapped me. Hard enough to make a sound, but not hard enough to hurt. The sting vanished almost instantly, replaced by confusion so deep it felt like a punch in my chest. I stared at her, stunned, waiting for an explanation. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "Because if you ask for the truth, you'll break. And I can't watch that happen." But in that moment, I realized something she hadn't. It wasn't the slap that was going to break me. It was whatever truth she was still trying so desperately to hide, and I knew the worst was still coming. For a few seconds after she slapped me, the room felt frozen, like the air itself didn't know how to move. Lunara stood in front of me, breathing hard, her hands trembling, as if she'd just done something unforgivable. Maybe she had. Maybe she knew it. Maybe she'd been preparing for this moment far longer than I had, Arundel. She whispered, her voice shaking. You're not ready for what I'm about to say. My chest tightened. Say it anyway. Her eyes filled not with guilt, but with something colder. Something already gone. She looked at me the way someone looks at a memory they no longer recognize. And then the truth began pouring out. Not as an apology, but as a confession she had been suffocating under. It didn't just happen once, she said. It didn't start as a mistake. I let it happen. I wanted it to happen. Each word felt like it cut deeper than the last. I met him months ago, she continued. Oren made me feel alive in a way I couldn't explain. He was risky, unpredictable. He made me feel like I was someone else, someone I couldn't be with you. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my breathing. Someone you couldn't be with me? Why? She hesitated, then delivered the blow that crushed whatever pieces were left inside me. Because you're too good, Arundel. Too steady, too safe. Being with you felt like living in a house without windows. Warm, but closed. I wanted air, chaos, a spark, something dangerous. The words hit harder than any slap ever could. My voice barely came out. So you chose him. She didn't deny it. She didn't soften it. She simply said, yes. And in that moment, the truth didn't just break my heart. It rewrote everything I thought love was supposed to be. I thought her confession was the end of the pain. I thought hearing her admit she chose someone else would be the final blow, the moment everything inside me collapsed. But fate wasn't done. Lunara wasn't done. And I had no idea the worst part of her betrayal was still waiting, sharp as a blade she'd kept hidden behind her back. When I finally managed to speak, my voice sounded unfamiliar. Who is he? Lunara. Tell me his name, she hesitated. Not because she didn't know it, but because she knew it would destroy me in a way her affair alone never could. It's Oren, she whispered. For a second, the world didn't make sense. Oren, Vexley, my colleague, the man I'd helped when he struggled, the one I'd defended in meetings, the one I shared lunches with, laughed with, supported like a brother. It felt impossible, unreal, like a nightmare I hadn't woken from yet. My chest tightened so painfully it felt physical. You've been with him. She looked down. He understood me. He made me feel wild again. He said you were too predictable, too soft, too safe, predictable, soft. Words she used to admire. Words she threw at me now like insults sharpened by someone else's tongue. Then she said something that severed the last thread holding me together. Oren told me, you'd never fight for me. That you're the kind of man who watches his life fall apart and still tries to be polite about it. My breath caught. So it wasn't just betrayal, it was mockery. A private joke between them. A shared laugh at my expense. My love had been twisted into their entertainment. My loyalty turned into their punchline. And in that moment, something inside me didn't just break. It woke up. When Lunara finished speaking, the room didn't feel like a room anymore. It felt like a collapsed version of my life, the air thick with the echo of everything I had just learned. I stood there staring at her, but my mind was somewhere else, a place where time felt warped, and my own heartbeat sounded foreign. The breakdown didn't hit me like an explosion. It came quietly, the same way her betrayal had. My legs felt weak. My chest felt hollow, like someone had scraped out everything inside me, leaving only the shell behind. I opened my mouth to say something, anything, but no words came out. My voice had abandoned me the way she had. Lunara stepped closer, her face twisted with guilt. What looked like guilt. Arundel. Say something. Scream. Curse me. Do something. But I couldn't, because the man she thought I was, the soft, predictable, gentle one, was no longer standing there. Instead, silence filled me. Heavy, cold, deliberate. It wasn't the silence of shock anymore. It was the silence of clarity. In that moment, I realized something she never expected. my silence was more powerful than any reaction she had imagined. Because while she thought betrayal would break me, it was actually sharpening me, making me see everything with brutal clarity. Every lie, every distance, every moment she slipped away. I breathed slowly, letting the quiet settle like armor. She touched my arm, panicked. "Please, Arundel, say something. Don't just shut down." I lifted my eyes to her and finally spoke, calm, steady, almost unnervingly controlled. "I'm not shutting down," I said. "I'm thinking." Her expression changed instantly. Fear flickered in her eyes, again deeper this time. Because she realized something. A man who reacts is predictable. A man who goes silent is dangerous. And that's when the shift truly began. Silence had given me something I hadn't felt in months' control. And once I had it, I didn't waste a second. While Lunara watched me with trembling confusion, expecting heartbreak, begging for a breakdown, something inside me aligned with chilling clarity. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to fight for someone who threw me away like spare breath. No, my revenge would begin quietly, cleanly, strategically. I understand. I told her, my voice steady enough to make her flinch. "You want chaos? You want wild? You want to feel alive? I won't stop you." For a moment she blinked in relief, thinking I was accepting it, thinking I was surrendering. But surrender was the last thing on my mind. While she tried to read my expression, I picked up my phone, calmly, casually, right in front of her. I forwarded the video every second of her betrayal to my private email, my backup cloud, and my encrypted drive. Insurance. Evidence. Truth preserved. Then I messaged Oren. "We need to talk. Urgent."
Nice.
Lunara's eyes widened. Panic spread across her face like wildfire. "Arundel, what are you doing?" "Giving you," I said softly, "the chaos you wanted, 'cause the one thing cheaters never expect is the moment their lies stop being secrets." My voice stayed calm, but my mind was already 10 steps ahead, thinking of work meetings, shared projects, everything Oren and I had built professionally. The same foundation he had been silently poisoning. I didn't need to ruin Lunara's life. I didn't need to shout or expose her publicly. All I had to do was shine a light. Because guilt destroys a person slowly. Fear destroys them faster. But karma destroys them perfectly. And tonight, karma had finally begun its work. A week passed and I thought the storm had ended. Oren was silenced, the evidence untouched by gossip, and my own heart had begun to settle into a quiet vigilance. That was when she returned. Lunara. Standing at my door like she belonged there, like she still had a place in my life. Her face was pale, her eyes rimmed with red panic, guilt, fear, all mixed in a chaotic storm she couldn't hide. She was desperate, and even from across the room I could feel it radiating like heat from fire. "Arundel," she whispered, voice trembling, "please, we can fix this. I made a mistake. I need you." I looked at her. Really looked, and for the first time in weeks, the woman I had loved so deeply felt like a stranger. The warmth was gone. The laughter, the softness, all replaced with raw, pleading desperation. "I never wanted this to happen," she said, stepping closer, reaching out. "I know I hurt you, but please, don't let it end like this. I'll do anything." "Isla," I raised my hand, not to strike, not to slap, but to stop her. My voice was calm, almost unnervingly steady. "Lunara, you had your chance. You chose him. You chose chaos. You chose betrayal. And you've watched your choices unravel the way you always wanted them to, except now. It's too late for apologies." Her face crumpled. Tears fell freely, but this time they didn't reach me. My heart, once fragile and aching, had armored itself with clarity and cold resolve. I let her desperation speak for itself, letting her realize that a man who has seen the truth cannot be swayed by begging. Some doors, once closed, never open again, and this one was locked forever. Just when I thought I had reached the end, when Lunara's pleading and Oren's downfall had closed the chapter of betrayal, I realized karma wasn't finished. It had a final twist, one so perfect and precise that it felt like fate itself had orchestrated it. I was reviewing the evidence again, going through the video's messages and screenshots one last time, making sure everything was secure. That's when a notification appeared, another anonymous tip, this time with information I hadn't expected. It wasn't just about Lunara. It was about Oren too. The man Oren had tried to use, manipulate, and betray someone he thought he could control professionally had seen everything. Every message, every secret meeting, every manipulation he had tried. And that man had acted quietly, ensuring Oren's career would collapse before he could escape accountability. I stared at the screen, realization dawning. Oren's downfall hadn't been my doing alone. It had been orchestrated by the very universe he thought he had fooled. His arrogance, his betrayal, his mockery, they had all been turned against him. And Lunara? She had been blind to it, believing she could escape consequences because she was clever, because she had manipulated hearts and minds. She was now facing the truth she never imagined. Her choices had consequences she couldn't dodge. I leaned back, the weight lifting from my chest. The slap, the lies, the betrayal, they had all led to this moment. A perfect alignment of truth, consequence, and poetic justice. Her fear, his downfall,